The CCD has been involved in Liberia for many years now, and we have established relationships of trust with many people in the government of Liberia and have been advising them on a variety of subjects related to constitutional reform.
The central difficulty in Liberia has always been the excessive power of the president. This is true in most countries around the world that have presidential systems. The current president of Liberia, amazingly, is prepared to limit her own power. She just received a second term. Hopefully these amendments will go into operation before her term ends, which means that her power at the end of her term will be much less than the power at the beginning of her term. Chief executives typically are not prepared to do this, but she is. And that means that if we can actually, within the next few years, limit the power of the Liberian presidency, the risk of a civil war, of an insurrection, goes way, way down. So we may be talking about thousands of lives saved. That means we have the opportunity to think this through in an academic way, rather than serving narrower political agendas. And we think that it is to the credit of the Liberian government that they're so prepared to do this in such a fair-minded and academic way.
Right. We have the capacity to sit down and think about how to build a process that will both gather accurate information about the needs and desires of the Liberian public and involve that public in the amendment process so that the ultimate outcome of that process enjoys public legitimacy.
Liberians are very competent. They're quite able to manage their own affairs. But sometimes it's advantageous to have outsiders come in as independent experts. Neither Susan nor I wants to be the president of Liberia, and everybody there knows it. I should also make clear, of course, we don't have any authority to do this. All of this has to go through Liberian governmental units, but we hope they'll accept our advice. We're also hopeful that the process will generate academic information, knowledge, truths that might be applicable in other places.
We ideally want to reach as large a percentage of the Liberian population as possible. We need to be cognizant of the fact that certain parts of the population will be less likely to participate in these meetings and will need to be encouraged and welcomed. So we're going to think about meetings held specifically, for example, for women. We're thinking about meetings that are specifically geared towards youth. We're also cognizant of the fact that we need to include traditional leaders and their constituencies in these meetings. We need to hold the meetings in local languages and not only in English, which is the official language of Liberia. So all of these sorts of issues, the logistical difficulties, the practical challenges, make it an interesting academic issue, and they also mean that if we do this well, we will have created the foundation for real constitutional legitimacy for the amendments when they are ultimately approved, we hope, through a referendum. Public consultation process will last through about June of 2014. At that point, the proposed amendments go to the President for her approval and then to the legislature for their approval. If the legislature votes for the amendments, then there is a year-long public education process that is required after that legislative vote, at the end of which there will be a public referendum. And if the public approves the amendments, they then become part of the Constitution. This is a unique opportunity to think through what a good public consultation process for a constitution would be. The Liberian people will be benefited both because they will understand how their constitution was changed, why their constitution was changed. They will see that those changes were made in response to their own comments about their desires and their needs. And if we do it right, if everything works well and the constitutional amendments are well crafted and are approved, they will have a government that will be much more accountable to them. To carry it out in a systematic way, to collect data about what was effective and what was not, and therefore to generate, hopefully, a model for public consultation that could be used in other places as well.
Liberia has suffered for so many years, and when people suffer, typically they go on killing each other. To actually call a halt to the violence, to believe that that halt might be permanent, to step back and think about ways to construct a better future, this is a miracle that humans are capable of and that we are witnessing in Liberia right now. And it's a great, great privilege for us to be able to be part of it.